Oh,
Sorry?
how's Michelle doing?
Great.
Good.
I wondered if that's what you were
Kids are
doing.
still in college.
Usual. Both of our kids are out of college.
Oh.
Our son.
Okay.
Sales job, great company. But he's
She's a
remote,
nun. No
been
one.
out of. I'm sorry, Sam. And our daughter just graduated.
Oh,
passed back
Okay,
from
because
high
I was going to
school.
say, I
She just
remember
graduated. She was
sitting at
two
El
years young.
Zarape with Michelle, having drinks with Mary and Michelle, and she's like, "My
She's out.
Okay.
She. Now she's.
Okay, we're live streaming.
You ready? Okay, I'll call to order then the October meeting of the both City of Bowling Green's Planning Commission. Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Here.
Yes.
Here,
Here?
Here.
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 Here. Here.
All right, thank you. Tonight, we do welcome another new member to the Planning Commission, Tom Stalter down here. This is his first meeting. We're glad to have you, Tom, and you come at kind of an exciting time because the city's going to be rolling out a new zoning code shortly, so you'll get right in on the ground floor of that. We'll find ways to keep you a little bit busy in the relatively near future, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to the approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed before the meeting to all the members. Are there any corrections or additions or deletions? All right, then the minutes are approved as distributed. Next is lobby visitation. Lobby visitation is the opportunity for anybody that wants to address this commission to get up and do so on any item that is not already on the night's agenda. Is there anybody that wants to address the commission tonight? Okay, we are moving right along. Next, we have one public hearing tonight. It's a public hearing regarding the rezoning request for 4.21 acres located at 300 East Poe Road, identified as parcel number B07-511-190104001001000 from M2 General Industrial Zoning Classification to B2 General Commercial Zoning Classification. Robert and Patricia Maurer, applicants. Heather, do you want to sort of summarize the staff report that you gave to
Sure.
us before the meeting?
Absolutely. So we're discussing 300 East Poe Road, a request to change the zoning from M2 General Industrial to B2 General Commercial. It is comprised of one parcel, which is approximately 4.21 acres. It does have an existing building that's about 20,000 square feet, along with an accessory building that's around 2,000 square feet, as you can see on the aerial view on the map there. As far as the addressing, we actually have a unit A and a unit B. They were recently split. It was the old Sentinel building, if some of you may remember that. So currently in unit B, there is a business, and then in A, that is vacant as far as I'm aware. The property owner is Maurer Rentals LLC. So Robert and Patricia Maurer are the actual applicants on behalf of that business. All the procedure requirements for the hearing have been met. That is posting signage on the property and mailing all the adjoining property owners, and then advertising in the newspaper according to section 150.111 of the codified ordinances. So in the report, I do give you a copy of the existing zoning so you can see what's allowed there now. So you can see there's definitely some heavier uses there than what is proposed under the B2 general commercial. And I also included the B1 because everything allowed in B2 is also allowed from B1. So again, it's cumulative in nature as far as the uses go. And then I give you the aerial map that shows the adjacent zoning. And in addition to that, I give you the bulk and density regulations so you can compare the M2 and the B2. The M2 setbacks are greater in nature, and the B2, for example, 25-foot setback in the front versus 35 in the front and under the current zoning. As far as public improvements, there, of course, are already a water main there, 16-inch along North Enterprise, 20-inch on East Poe Road, and then a 6-inch water line on North Summit. There is combined sewer with a 78-inch combined sewer on East Poe Road. I think that's actually 8-inch. Sorry about the typo there. And then a 12-inch combined sewer on North Summit Street, and then a 10-inch combined sewer is available on North Enterprise at the south end of the property. Electric is available on East Poe Road and North Summit. There is a public sidewalk along Poe Road, but none along North Summit or North Enterprise. So certainly that there's room for improvement there. As far as traffic, no changes have been requested or proposed for any type of development. So that really is not in play with part of this request. As far as the recommendation, the staff does recommend approval of this request for several reasons. We look at the land use plan, the community action plan, and compare those in this report. As we know, given past staff reports, it's hard because some of this is subjective, right? So we do our best to go through each point and try to see that it does meet that in some aspect. So the 7 Bowling Green principles, we did look at highly livable urban form that creates and preserves a community. We do believe that part of that is having more neighborhood commercial. So there is clearly a neighborhood around there and also some existing commercial. So it does really fit into that. And then also another principle is a strong business space. Certainly it's reusing an old building in some fashion and really making that something that available to different types of uses. It seems that the industrial use really doesn't have the interest in that building so far. I can't speak for the owner or the applicant, but certainly it seems like the commercial may fit in more where it's located, especially along East Poe Road. A major thoroughfare too for access from vehicular traffic and also, again, that surrounding neighborhood. It can be walkable for sure. Also the principal good neighbor neighborhoods. Again, we feel this is a better transition from the adjoining properties around there than the current industrial zoning. So again, a lesser intensive use would be permitted under the B2 versus the M2. So in section 2, we do apply action items directly from the future land use plan. In other words, recommendations. There's not a whole lot on this area, but it is part of the northeast neighborhood that is a focus of the future land use plan. And it does mention that an existing condition is incompatible adjacent uses. So again, same thing what I just said, it's a better transition really from the M2 industrial to the general commercial. As far as the northeast conditions, we talked about that, but also the goals. So there is a goal that there could be improvement here with planting more trees. And I gave you a copy of how it maps some additional street trees, could make that a lot more attractive there. And then also in the future land use plan, under action item number 7 on page 25, you'll see I gave you a little snippet of that. There is a burnt orange color that shows a recommendation to a little bit of a moderate density residential that could work there, but it's not directly all the way to Poe. So I do think there's some room there that it could be residential in the future, but right now, according to the land use plan, this again is a lesser transition that makes it better for that surrounding neighborhood. Also under the future land use map, which is pages 47 and 48 of the land use plan, it does recommend orange again, which is traditional residential with retail permissions, which clearly that would do according to that map. And again, I give you a copy of that map and there's a little X there showing the location in the orange area. Under section 3, we actually review the community action plan. As you can see in this plan, it does recommend that medium density residential could work here. So we do suggest that maybe in the future, that's a possibility. The owner right now is not requesting that. There's no plans. So according to that building, it'd be very difficult at this point to have that be residential. They'd have to really scrap the site. So again, we're not just saying that commercial could work. I think residential in the future, maybe long-term could too, but for now the request is commercial. And we do think, again, that would be a better transition as to what it is now.
Heather, what do you mean by medium density residential?
So, you could have density is based on different levels. So I think where a lot of us live now, maybe in this room, it's considered single family. So pretty much maybe 2 or 3 houses per acre, let's say. So if you go to a moderate density, that could be 8 to 12 houses per acre. So, and then if you go to high density, that could be 24 to 50 units per acre. So there's different density models depending on how your zoning code does that. So right now we don't really do that with our zoning code. But again, that was just a recommendation that could be a little bit of, it could be row homes, townhomes, more units per acre than what they have now. So I think that's basically it as far as the land use plan. I talked about that, the community action plan. Again, better transition compared to, you could have truck traffic there now, depending on that intensive use that's allowed there now. Again, East Poe Road, that's a major thoroughfare. I think that's it as far as that recommendation. I did want to point out, though, I did give you some pictures of the site. Also gave you the pictometry views, again, to give you an idea of the whole site and what that looks like. And then the application, of course, a copy of that. And then also we did receive one letter that we have a copy from you for you to review. I just want to know is from James Weinandy, attorney at law, 441 Frazee Avenue, Suite B, Bowling Green, Ohio. He is an adjoining property owner to the east where he has his business, and he did write us a letter on August 23rd to the planning director. And basically he says, I received your notice concerning the rezoning of parcel B07, et cetera. My business partner, Steve Calles, and I own the building across the street from this parcel. We are in support of the requested rezoning. The neighborhood is generally residential or, like our business, office space. It seems to us that a change to B2 zoning is the most appropriate use of the space. Further, many of the properties in this neighborhood are managed by Robert and Patricia Mauer through Greenbrier. While I know it may not necessarily be a factor for rezoning, I would report that they do a fine job in maintaining their properties and keeping the neighborhood clean. This is another reason I support the zoning change. Thank you for your requesting our input respectfully. Is there any specific questions for me?
Any questions for Heather? Thank you for that very complete report.
You're welcome.
So I know we're still, I know we're close to getting the new zoning stuff to review, and we're not there yet. Do you know offhand what we think this is going to be on the map, 6 months from now?
Well, we do have a very rough draft of a zoning map. If my memory serves me correct, we would call it neighborhood commercial. And that's about all I can say at this moment.
So I guess, would that be broadly consistent with what the applicant is requesting?
I would say yes, for the most part, it's very similar, yes.
Any other questions for Heather? Is there anyone here tonight representing the applicant? Would you like to speak? Nope. Okay. All right. That's fine. Is there any public testimony then tonight? All right. It doesn't appear as I wasn't. We accounted for the only person in the room I didn't know. So as amongst ourselves to discuss the issue, if we care to, anybody want to make any comments? The gist of it to me seems to be that the request is to move from a more intense use of the property to a less intensive use, which seems more consistent with the rest.
I'll comment. Yeah, I sat on actually both land use plan and the gap. Both of them. I do agreement. I think to better specific.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Mark.
I think that it'd be a more positive change.
Yeah.
It's like Heather said, a lot of changes.
And I would agree with Mark, because we did sit on those boards, and I think it's what we had in mind when we approved it.
Are we able to ask the applicant a question?
Sure.
I'm just wondering why now versus say a couple years ago or maybe a couple years future? Is it related to the zoning change or is it just happened? Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we can't hear you in the microphone and we're on YouTube Live.
Could you come up here to the microphone and say the same thing? Got it on our record. Your name.
Okay, my name is Bonnie Long. I work with David Wilson, S2F Corporation, and he represents Mr. Mauer. As far as I know, he's only owned it for a couple of years. And it's hard to find somebody to rent 20,000
Because of the
square
size.
feet. Yeah. So if he can get it rezoned to the smaller thing, he can divide it up more and get more tenants in there.
Right.
And have a better use for the building.
Do you know, is there an intent to, there's a lot of stuff in our packet that talks about planting trees, sidewalks. Do you know if there's any intent? My understanding is we can't impose that on them as a condition of doing that. I think I got in trouble for that once. Do you know, is there a willingness or intent to do that?
I don't know about an intent, but I would probably say, yeah, there's probably a willingness to. And if he knows that that's what you would prefer,
Right.
I'm sure that he would try to do the best he could
Okay.
to go with that.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll convey that to him.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I was kind of wondering from,
We only have one, I'm sorry, one microphone for you to share.
sure. I was kind of wondering maybe if we, it's up to the owner right now to make it M2 commercial, but maybe from a city's perspective, it might be better if there are townhouses and all medium resident because there's a shortage of houses. Would we recommend them in the future if they're interested? They could kind of think about this line of inquiry.
Yeah, and quite honestly, that's what I was trying to do with my report in a gentle way, was saying that the city would, surely be open to that also, which I also sent the staff report pointing that out to the owner. So they're aware. I don't think the city can be that forceful. It's still private property, but I do think we did a, decent job trying to point that out, that I think there's other options too in the future, long-term.
Thank you.
But it's definitely a great point and very valid point.
Anything else? All right. Right, with that, I'll ask, is there a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second? Joe? And that, Jamie, would you call for a vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hey, Tom, you've been here 15 minutes and you get to vote on something already. All right, that was the only public hearing for the night. So we move on to reports. Judy, do you have anything from the Zoning Board of Appeals?
I do, Mr. Chairman. We originally had 3 requests for variances on our September 8th. The last one with Donald Ralston on Cedar Lane was withdrawn at their request, and we'll be hearing that next Wednesday. The 2 that we did hear was Nathan and Emily Bernath at 1159 Dakota Court had requested a variance to allow the construction of an 18-foot by 36-foot in-ground swimming pool to be located in the side yard instead of the rear yard where allowed. After a lengthy discussion, the request for that variance was not granted. The second one was John and Julie Walker had requested a variance to allow the construction of a 6-foot tall fence and the 25-foot yard setback. Corner lot fence would be in the front yard that faces Gould Street, currently on an unimproved city right-of-way, which would be 2 feet taller than the maximum allowable height of a 4-foot at 267 South Enterprise Street. That was unanimously granted. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Heather, do you have anything from the planning department?
I'm not going to have a lengthy report, but I'm going to remind you Monday, October 11th, which is already the next Monday, 6:30 p.m. at the Veterans Building. We will have a presentation from Zone Co. Giving kind of a high level view basically of the zoning code draft. Again, I don't have any handouts ahead of time. They have said they don't want to do that. It just gets too messy. So they are going to do that at the actual presentation. For those who cannot make it, there will be a YouTube live link there or a video, and then you'll be able to view that afterwards, which I think will be very helpful for that presentation. So,
Okay, hope everybody can make that in one fashion or another.
and we have encouraged the Zoning Board of Appeals also to attend, and certainly Judy knows how involved they are in the zoning code also. So.
Yes, we are.
Okay, with that, anything else for the good of the order? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second. Mark,